Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen, looking at a breakdown of what happened in 2020 with Star Citizen's development, releases, events, successes and failures in this very difficult year for many around the world. We had a very slow start to the year, but Star Citizen Alpha 3.9 Locked Up and Loaded released April 29th, which was a month behind schedule. This was due to various blockers and issues that needed to be solved, but also because the various Cloud Imperium studios had started working from home and transitioning to that new sort of development model with the coronavirus lockdowns. Cloud Imperium was in a relatively good place, however, when compared to other businesses, as it was already set up for remote working and it had a global set of studios that had been working in a similar way, though to a smaller scale, for many years. It did cause some setbacks, with them having to work out new ways to deploy massive game builds remotely and getting PCs to their staff members and dealing with employees that had to isolate or that were ill, and there's definitely some efficiency loss that's there because the teams aren't working together in the office all together and that sort of stuff. But this is sort of a theme throughout 2020. Coronavirus caused issues. The 3.9 patch, however, added various major content, prisons and associated gameplay, new Babbage, their landing zone and Microtech, and 3 new moons, Calliope, Euterpe and Clio, an improved friends list, weapon attachments, the prisoner transport mission, player status survival updates, and an improved player inventory and interaction system. We also saw the implementation of the first Tavaran ship by Asperia, the Prowler, the very cool bird's nest troop transport. At the end of May, we had the Invictus launch week, otherwise known as Fleet Week. This was a massive free-fly event that had a load going on, a ship sale of military-styled ships, which changed every day, basically like they do the Intergalactic Aerospace Expos every year, and this helped Cloud Imperium make over 15 million during that month and during that sale. The event itself had the UEE Navy fleet flying around with Idrises and Javelins and F-8 Lightnings and F-7A Hornets, firing fireworks around them, and they sort of like moved as a fleet between major planetary space stations that had these large new docks that the capital ships could dock at and all these ships could land at, and players were able to see this sort of amazing spectacle, but also they wanted to fight them, so there were lots of players going in there and fighting these Idris and Javelins, and some ramming them into planets and doing silly things. It was our first taste of capital ship combat, and even though Cloud Imperium tried to make those ships tougher and harder to kill during that event, players still found a way to still fight them, beat them, and it was actually pretty cool. Also, people were stealing the military fighters and flying them around as well. It was a mad and cool event. There was an expo going on as well at ArcCorp where you could see and rent various military ships. You could purchase these ships on the website as well. The event was both amazingly successful and an utter disaster though, as Cloud Imperium servers were just hammered with a load of new players trying the game for free during the free flight. The login servers kept on going down and there were constant server disconnects along with the standard alpha bugs. It did, however, get Cloud Imperium to then work on some additional server redundancy and robustness of backend services and login services, which have now started to pay dividends. Cloud Imperium also unveiled the G12 series of rovers, their G12, G12A and G12R during that Fleet Week event. Now, after that 3.9 patch cycle and Fleet Week, we had Star Citizen Alpha 4.0. Star Citizen Alpha 3.10. Cloud Imperium had decided to change their patch naming scheme to the major patch releases so that the moniker of the 4.0 patch is sort of being saved for when pyro, server meshing, and jump points will all come together in the game in a future patch. So Star Citizen 3.10 Flight and Fight released August 5th, over a month behind schedule again. This patch overhauled the flight model and combat, changing the way ships flew in atmosphere and space. There was an overhaul to turrets, targeting and accuracy improvements. We had the fixed weapon assist system, so basically this was now competitive using fixed weapons and turrets with using auto gimbals as well. Missiles and countermeasures were changed and updated. They added a trading app so you could send merits and Alpha UEC to other players. There was body dragging, a new damage type with Electron and associated pistol and sniper weapon using it. So this sort of applied a little electric-y debuff on you, which if you were then shot again with an Electron weapon, you would explode a little bit, sort of sending out a pulse. The Rock remote ore collecting vehicle went straight to drivable with this patch as well, and it was a new mining vehicle that allowed you to harvest new medium gem nodes that were around planets. There are various updates to locations as well with this patch. Pico the Penguin too, he's a very good little plushy boy. Star Citizen Alpha 3.11, High Impact, released on October 8th. This was pretty good when it comes to actually a release date for a live patch, and actually coincided with the Star Citizen birthday celebration. So, the 2020 CitizenCon was cancelled due to coronavirus lockdowns. This is, in my opinion, a major blow to Star Citizen in terms of hype, funding and marketing. CitizenCon allows the community to come together in a massive ball of hype, questions and celebration. People attend a massive event or watch it live, and there is loads going on. New ships, cool stuff being shown off, and a lot more. It's the highlight of my Star Citizen year, but instead, we've had a mini Star Citizen birthday event in-game and on website, but nothing live. It's just, yeah, a lot smaller. Obviously not as cool as CitizenCon, but it was something. There was in-game events and challenges to obtain masks as prizes permanently on your account. So one, you had to visit Benny Hench and you just got a mask. Cool. And another was to kill 50 unique players throughout October. Slightly more difficult and more involved with actually actively hunting players. You had to do this in a glaive or gladius, which were actually available to everyone to use for that whole month. Cloud Imperium gave them to players for free during that month. This caused a mixed bag, with some people being annoyed at random PvP just going on everywhere. Some people were farming kills in orgs by lining everyone up in EVA and then mowing them all down with like the gladius. Brrr, and that caused people to complain that that wasn't a fair way to do it. And other people really sort of enjoyed that there was actually something to do and achieve in-game and to strive for. I want more achieves in-game for badges and cool little aesthetic loot like that. I really like that sort of stuff. There were some in-law Imperator elections as well that players actually voted on to see who the new Imperator in-game would be. I say in-game, in-law I suppose. It turned out to be Leilani Addison, an advocate of science, AI and bringer of Skynet maybe. It will affect the way the lore plays out in game and potentially some missions and stuff in the future. We had an AMA and letter from the chairman with updates saying that Death of a Spaceman and medical gameplay will start to be shown in mid-2021. They talked about computer blades giving extra functionality or automation to your various systems of your ship. Lots and lots of information on the dynamic universe sim and work going on to Star Citizen and various development updates. We had also been waiting on a Squadron 42 update for most of 2020, and during the birthday, we saw one episode, the first episode of the new Briefing Room series, looking at said single-player campaign, which was actually over an hour and a quarter long, so it was pretty beastly for a video, and actually had some pretty cool little updates. They looked at the CDO array and some animations, sort of like that, and talking of characters that you can interrupt. The sort of interrupting stuff is pretty cool, and starting your conversations up with them again later. But Cloud Imperium have since decided to can this new way of doing Squadron 42 updates until it is closer to release. With that in mind, Chris Roberts recently said, look, Squadron 42 is done when it's done. It's too early to give a release date for the game, and we want these sort of updates for building hype and marketing, because we don't want to show loads of stuff off of Squadron 42 and then not actually be able to show anything off marketing-wise in the future because we don't want to spoil the game. So, an interesting thing there. We had been waiting for Squadron 42 updates for a while, and we're not going to be getting what we hoped to be getting, but we are going to be getting updates on the roadmap and on the monthly reports. And when Squadron 42 is closer to release, they will start the briefing room series up again, it appears. That's what's implied anyway. Anyway, going back to Alpha 3.11's release though, the patch added cargo decks to space stations, though they were really more just a location than any new gameplay at this stage. We had weapons being able to be fired around stations as well, which opened up station assaults and attacking space stations, which had defense turrets and new laws and reinforcement systems with security coming to sort of turn up. Really great gameplay that I really enjoyed messing around with space stations and the sort of nods to future gameplay that provides. There was force reactions. This had players flinching at impacts and getting knocked over by enough force from an explosion or their ship getting impacted. They added a shotgun and grenade launcher too. There was a whole range of objects that became throwable, as well as grenades getting an AR, sort of augmented reality arc, so they could see where they're being thrown. Planets and moons got a whole host of visual improvements. Prisons saw various improvements too, and the in-game's UIs saw updates, one of which was a cleaner personal inventory. So that was actually pretty cool. The Origin 100 series of starter ships were added to the game as well. That's the 100I, 125A, and 135C. They're starter ships. They look pretty, but not really super essential for the game in my opinion. Moving on to November, we had the 2950 Intergalactic Aerospace Expo. This was a massive ship sale and free fly event that Star Citizen, well, has every year. It had a huge amount of players trying the game, new players, and everyone was able to try out pretty much every ship in-game that was flyable over this 12-day event. You could visit the Expo Hall location at New Babbage and see all these ships that changed every day. It was a very cool area to visit. We had the Perseus anti-large ship gunboat go on concept sale too. This seemed to be an incredibly popular ship. We don't know when it's going to be flyable yet, but cool concept sale, $600 ship. Yeah, pretty cheap for big ships as far as Star Citizen goes, but pretty expensive as a digital purchase. We had the entirely new consolidated Outland Nomad that went straight to flyable. This was a new second tier starter ship that was also a bit of a hauler. At the same time as the event, the Mercury Star Runner became flyable in game. This was one of the most hyped ships and did not disappoint. It is my favourite ship in game by far, having secret passages, hidden panels, its doors and lights are all hooked up. It looked great. It was the most technically advanced ship that they've produced, and during the first wave of its PTU cycle, some content creators were briefly given access to the ship, even though some of them hadn't bought it. So this was really so they could show it off in their streams and make content on it, and the ship caused some polarization in the community, with some feeling that everyone that bought the ship should have been given access to it at that stage, and people that hadn't bought it shouldn't, even in the test patches. That said, it was only 1 to 2 days earlier than other people got it, and I mean, in my humble content creator opinion, I think Cloud Imperium probably would prefer the free publicity and additional content that gets made by people by lending them those ships for a couple of days. During the expo, though, there wasn't anything new in-game mission-wise. No big UE fleet to fight or watch like they had at the Invictus launch week and fleet week. It was focused on ship sales and that free fly mainly, but because of that, it felt a little empty, in my opinion. Financially, though, it's the best sort of event that Cloud Imperium have ever done. So I suppose, what do I know? And the servers were a magnitude better than in May's Fleet Week. That said, the site and servers did go down for an hour when the event started, but they went back up quickly. It was sort of like, oh no, please don't everything break. But it went, no, it's good. And for the most part, that was a really successful event. Something else that was announced at the end of November was a new Star Citizen studio headed by Turbulent in Montreal that's going to be focusing on star systems, on planets, and that sort of gameplay content. That is incredibly important for the game, as a lot of people ask, well, they haven't even got one star system in game yet. How are they going to be able to build out 100? Well, I'll tell you how they're going to be able to build out 100. They're going to build a new studio dedicated, or at least one of its major focuses being building out planets and star systems as content over the next 3+ years. In fact, over the next 3 years, they want to get to 100 staff members. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what that studio produce, and hopefully Nubifier will be able to go on regular visits there, seeing he's in the Canada as well. Star Citizen Alpha 3.12.0 Assault on Stanton was released on December 17th, 2020. The last major patch of 2020 brought us updates to mining and the new refinery decks, and associated gameplay, allowing that gameplay loop to be even more fleshed out. Rest stops found themselves in new gas clouds and nebula, very pretty cool stuff. Bounty hunting and reputation was expanded out, though there are actually some bugs with that currently. So this allows you to gain rep from doing missions that's then tracked between patches in the long-term persistence database, or at least it's supposed to be. Reputation with bounty hunter missions allows you to unlock new missions and then new tiers of hunts, and the mission givers will talk to you differently based on whether you've been succeeding or failing their missions. They added the Idris into the game for NPCs, now as a more permanent fixture to use as part of security, protecting space stations, hunting dangerous groups of pirates, and as part of the Arlington Gang mission set, which will have you going up against an Idris and trying to take one down. We've got a handheld tractor beam, a module for the multi-tool, which allows us to move boxes, but also it's used for traversal and EVA. There are even more updates to planetary visuals. They added the Toby eye tracker to the game, being supported natively. Missiles and countermeasures saw more updates and balance as well. The Tavaran Talon and its variant, the Shrike, were added as concepts in August 2020, and though you could actually argue that they were first talked about at CitizenCon 2019 as the Tavaran fighter, but that also made its way into the flyable state in Alpha 3.12. Dynamic events were also part of that 3.12 branch, but they have yet to be properly enabled. So this is the Xeno threat set of missions and big server events and fleet battles and cool stuff happening. This was delayed last second at the end of 2020. They wanted it in before Christmas, but during testing, they decided that there were just too many bugs and it required a little bit more refinement, and that would go a long way into making that event a lot more enjoyable. This is disappointing though, as it's probably the thing I was looking forward to the most in 2020, and have been for a while, that set of Xeno threat missions, sort of jumping into a server and being able to just get involved in potentially a fleet battle that other people are just able to join as it happens. It should be in-game though, early 2021, hopefully in January. We'll have to wait and see. The event will have large-scale fleet battles and capital ships and players being able to jump in and help with the fighting and other related events as well. It was also suggested that these events would change from each major patch, so we'll have to wait and see what the next major patch in March 2021 brings. But wait, there's more. We were waiting on the new roadmaps for a big portion of 2020. Cloud Imperium gave us a roadmap to the new roadmaps for when they would arrive, and a roadmap for roadmaps didn't go down too well. However, the new roadmap eventually came out in late December and showed what was being worked on or planned to be worked on by 20 of the 50 sets of dev teams working on both Squadron 42 and Star Citizen's Persistent Universe. We are getting more updates to this in January, having a lot more of those teams added, and having the core teams added and the downstream teams added, so we'll see in a lot more detail what is going on the roadmap, including what's sort of pegged to be released at the moment for Q2, Q3 and Q4, as we only have the first quarter with the 3.13 patch in the release sort of view, so that's what they expect to actually be in that release. They do have a progress tracker that looks at what all these other teams are working on for 4 quarters, but that does not necessarily tell us exactly when a feature will come along, because there might be loads of other work that needs to go into it from various other teams. So we have some indication of what's going on and what's being worked on in 2021, from server meshing to iCache to salvage to small homes, potentially bases, lots of cool stuff, but we don't know if that work's going to finish in 2021. The things like the Polaris and lots of other cool stuff, but we'll have to wait and see. We'll know a bit more next year. There is currently a Christmas event on as well, where you can find little boxes around landing zones and then sell them. There's various ship starter packages that are currently on sale between 10 to 15% off, and we sort of ended the year with a big letter from the chairman stating that 2020 was the best year for Star Citizen in terms of money, new players, and achievements, even against the sort of like rapidly changing world environment and coronavirus. The games will be done when they're done, but Star Citizen will be more playable every quarter. Star Citizen earned over 78 million according to the funding tracker this year, which is a ridiculous amount of money compared to previous years. Their best year by a huge margin, but we will look at the financials in a lot more detail in another video. And that's it for my Star Citizen 2020 big fat view of the year. I don't know what we're calling this, and we'll see what the title says. Whatever the title says, that. It was certainly a big year for Star Citizen, but every year is a big year for Star Citizen. There were certainly some disappointments, there were certainly some delays, but it also made strides towards being a real boy. But what do you think? Were you disappointed by the progress in 2020 or impressed? Had you hoped to see a lot more? What was your favourite patch or feature? What did you enjoy the most this year? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Ho, ho, ho! Merry Shipmas! We're giving away a Mercury Star Runner in December because it's Christmas and we do it every month anyway. Zin, put a Mercury Star Runner in my hand because that's what we're giving away, and put a hat on it, like a Christmas hat. There you go. That's animation for you, potentially. I just moved my hand around. So just comment on any one of my videos during the month of December to be in for a chance of winning that. Also, maybe give someone special the gift that keeps on giving. I'm talking, of course, about NordVPN. Links below. Also, don't forget Shadow. They do cloud-based gaming stuff, so you can get that as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Click the YouTube join button, like and subscribe, do all that sort of stuff. Thanks for supporting the channel. Merry Christmas. Oh, oh, oh. Mercury Star Runner.